Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ali Siddiqui.
We have to be there. Hello and welcome everyone. I hope you're enjoying the CA world and also having some fun. It's great to see all of you here. And personally, there is no place I'd rather be than here with you all. We have a great show for you and are launching some fabulous Agile Ops monitoring products. I hope you got to see our CEO, Mike Gregoire's keynote earlier. It is incredibly inspiring to hear him speak and tell us how CA is working with our customers to deliver on digital transformation initiatives. Mike spoke about CA's vision. I'm here to talk about how we are taking the Agile Ops monitoring products to the next level. And we've been working closely and in many cases co-developing and collaborating with you all to take it further and higher together. This is the standard disclaimer slide. Experience is everything. In today's app economy, it is a competitive advantage. We've all used apps and websites that we like, and some that we don't really like. The ones we like, we even recommend to our friends, and we keep using them. The ones we don't, we switch to competition. So what does this have to do with IT operations and enterprise monitoring architecture groups? Well, one can argue that the differentiation has actually now moved into your domain. Think about it for a moment. Customer experience is the differentiation, and it requires optimal application and infrastructure and reliable services and deep visibility into application and infrastructure performance. But it's really hard to deliver amazing experience. It's easier said than done. Many companies lack a critical ingredient for success in this digital transformation initiative. That's right. Great experience requires greater insight. The most important and critical requirement is visibility and insight into an ever-changing and complex application and infrastructure. So who owns customer experience? Is it a title, Chief Digital Officer? Is it a group, Customer Success Group? Help me out here. Raise your hands if you think you own customer experience. Raise your hand if you think you own customer experience. I saw many hands being raised, some more full than others, but many. I should have seen all of you raise your hands because we all, including myself, own customer experience. We are all digital experience engineers. And digital experience engineers channel their efforts in three key elements: design, code, and infrastructure. Design, that the user experience and application flow are working well. Code, that the app is performing as intended, and you know of your issues before your customer is impacted and resolve them quickly. Infrastructure, getting insight into ever-changing dynamic public clouds, private clouds, SDN, SD-WAN, end-to-end. Today, these are keyhole views. These are siloed. Well, we at CA have now worked on an approach that is holistic and allows business and application insight as well as IT operational excellence. It provides a holistic view so that IT and line of business have the same consistent view and deep insights. But what are the challenges in gaining this critical visibility? In a word, it's change. Yes, change is everywhere. Used to be, you heard Mike say this, we used to talk about build to last. But now it's really about being agile. That means build to change. Net, this means IT today is hopeless against this challenge of big data and ever demanding change. This is no surprise to CIOs and many IT industry veterans who've been following this industry for a while. They know that this requires a modern, analytic, and machine learning-based business insight and infrastructure performance visibility. So Gartner agrees with this. Gartner recently said that IT ops management is having a series of challenges with all this big data and change. They are using point solutions and small data tools to solve a big data challenge. A recent survey of 312 CIOs showed that 80% of them agreed a modern approach is needed and are looking into it. They're hungry for this. Another research recently showed 50% of enterprises really need this and really want this new modern approach and actively looking into analytics modern tools. So the race is on. It's worth noting that the same platform needs to deliver on both business and application performance and IT operational excellence. So let me share with you how we are doing this at CA. What are we doing at CA to resolve this big challenge? I am extremely excited that at this CA World, you will learn how CA is uniquely positioned to deliver on this promise. We have deep domain expertise from user experience, application monitoring, infrastructure, cloud, and network monitoring, SDN, SD-WAN. We cover end-to-end and app-to-infra. So we brought this to bear on this big problem. And we don't just collect data. We add context to it. That lets you identify behavior, patterns, and anomalies. Because, as I said, knowing of issues before your customer impact is really important. You should not be knowing of your issues from your customers. You should know it beforehand. We build out-of-box assisted workflows to get really fast root to cause. We use machine learning to get to root to cause, do app-to-infra correlation, end-to-end monitoring, so that digital experience and engineers get a holistic view, both IT and ops, across design, code, and infrastructure. We deliver, as you can see, on both the business insight and IT operations excellence. So at this point, I'm going to ask two of my colleagues to join me. First, Kline, Vice President of Product Management, APM Group, is going to come on stage to talk about how we are using analytics to deliver on business insight and application performance. Then Dan Holmes, Vice President of Product Management, Infrastructure Monitoring, will come on stage to talk about how the same platform, the platform that provides app-to-infra correlation, end-to-end monitoring, is delivering on IT operation excellence. But before Chris comes on stage, I want to share this video with you.
For CNN, this election is the big story.
People are really hungry for the meaning behind the numbers.
The CNN Politics app is intended to give consumers the sense of what's happening right now in the presidential election and using data to tell that story.
CA Technologies provides API management software and the analytics capabilities to allow CNN to tell its story in a way that people really haven't seen before.
Hello. As you saw in that short video clip, CNN recently partnered with CA to get a different lens for its customers on one of its prominent new mobile apps. They wanted a lens of design and code and infrastructure to see how those things intersect to really describe your user experience. These are apps that you use and that you touch. For more information about this recent event and to hear about CNN's experience in their own words, we invite you to take a look at our website at ca.com, where we've got a recording of that recent event. Uh-oh. Has this ever happened to you? PowerPoint? Doesn't work so well sometimes. Sometimes our slides don't advance correctly. Sometimes our apps don't advance correctly. We call this the spinny dial of bad reviews. Now, if you're on the consumer side of the house, you've had this happen many, many times before. And when it happens, you get frustrated. But many of you are probably on the ownership side of this from time to time. And that's even worse, isn't it? When you get the spinny dial of bad reviews, nothing good comes from it. This is the description of a bad user experience right here. And this is ultimately what we're working to solve. As Ali pointed out a few moments ago, we're all experienced engineers. And in that vein, we need to look through that lens, same as CNN, at design, code, and infrastructure when the experience fails us. So we're going to go through each of those now and give you some examples of what we're doing to make this real. We're first going to start by looking at business insights. I'm going to take you through design and code, and later we'll then look at infrastructure to talk about operational intelligence. So let's look at design. You know, there was a time a few years ago when I mistakenly understood that design meant making things look pretty, picking the correct colors, picking the best font, and so on. And those things are very important. However, I missed the mark at that point. Interaction design is focused much more on how you're using the application and how we're enabling you to cruise through an app, removing all the friction that you can. Take an example. Think about one of your favorite apps. What is an app that you use multiple times per day? You probably enjoy using it. And why is that? It's probably something you don't even think about terribly frequently. You can bet that before you ever got your hands on that app, that there was an experienced engineer who spent hours, days, or probably even weeks tweaking and redefining over and over again the way that you would interact, where you would touch, how you would use this thing, what pages you would go to create that frictionless experience. It wasn't an accident. But let's take a more real example for a moment. You see above me the picture of the girl that's on a train. From time to time, you all ride trains or buses, and they're usually pretty crowded. When they are, you're stuck standing up, you hold on to the railing with one hand, and as we all tend to do all around the world, we pull out our phones and we start to play with them. When we pull those phones out, we're using them with one hand. Have you ever stopped to realize that there are parts of the phone that are easier to touch with your thumb because you're using it with only one hand? As you design an application, figuring out where users are touching most frequently can help you decide where you want to put the most important functionality. It's then not a question about whether you have the functionality, but whether you're removing the friction in that experience. That's what it means to be a digital experience engineer. As another example, touching on the screen is important, but the collection of those screens together creates something that's far more interesting and compelling. And that's the overall journey. What pages did you go to and how often did you come back? Imagine for a moment that you maybe spent $100,000 on a brand new feature for a web app. It's not hard to go out and pull a log that tells you how many hits you had in that app. It's a little more challenging to figure out whether you're getting the intended ROI from that investment. We speak in terms all the time of justifying something in the front side of the cycle, but we're not so good at the tail side of that cycle at showing the business that because we invested that amount of money, we're getting 3 or 4 or 5 times of return in form of actual revenue, or perhaps even in brand value. What you're seeing on the screen now represents the journey. It's the different screens that are available in web and mobile apps, and it shows how you got there and which pages you went to. Now, ideally, we're looking at what we call the happy path. The happy path represents that you searched for something, you added it to your cart, you went to the checkout process, and you were done. That's the intended path in perhaps a retail application. Then you have the unhappy path, things that you only go to sometimes when maybe we didn't want you to. When there's a problem with slowness or with crashes, that affects the journey, and so we overlay that on top of this screen. As we progress now to code, we move from design, think about how these two things go together. For example, in that shopping example, imagine that I was shopping for some shoes. And I put those shoes in my shopping cart, and you've all had this happen to you. As you put something in the shopping cart, something pops up on the side of your screen and says, here's an accessory that we recommend that you buy. Now, we all know that when that accessory pops up, that recommendation, when it pops up within a couple of seconds, you're far more likely to add it to your cart. It's an impulse buy. But if it takes 3, 4, 5 seconds for that to pop up, then what happens? Well, you're either looking away from the screen or you realize that you probably shouldn't have bought those shoes to begin with. And so you pass on that. So you see how the performance of the app impacts the journey and how relating the code together with the design helps us create a more unique experience. So now we get to code. That's the second pillar of experience engineering. Nobody does code better than CA. However, simply monitoring code and providing metrics is frankly kind of boring in 2016. We can do better than that. Have you ever had another kind of thing happen to you where you're at work and you have an app that you're using and the app doesn't work so great? Let's say it's really slow or it crashes. And you happen to know the guy who's responsible for that app. You run into him in the hallway and you say, hey, this thing isn't working so great. And then you hear those immortal words, well, it works just fine for me. You've had that happen, right? You know, we've all had that. And the problem is that that's an example of no context. The way that we address that is not by just providing you more and better metrics, it's by giving you context. In the example now that you see in the middle of the screen, we provide that context through a video replay that shows that your experience was poor because we show what led up to it. We show what series of screens you went to, we show where you clicked, we show where you touched. Therefore, there's no more, it works fine for me. When we get even better at that, now we can find and fix problems before they ever even reach production. That's what it means to be an experience engineer. Seeing into the code is really what we excel at. That's what you come here for. That's what you know us for. When we talk about experience engineering, we make that practical. We talk about then pulling together what is the user's experience, but then tying that to all of the different bits and details that are in those domain-specific tools. For a long time, we've invited you to shows like this. And at these shows, we've tried to teach you our vocabulary that we invent. In my business of APM, I have terms like stalls and blame and so on. And I try to get you to learn those things so that you love my tools. The time for that is over. If we're going to do this correctly as experience engineers, then instead I need to take the terminology that you use and I need to put it into the tool. As I come and visit with you in each of your meetings and sites, you inevitably go up to a whiteboard and you draw some architecture that is the things that you have. And you have the ABC app and the BPS app and so on. You draw them all together. That is the vocabulary that you know and recognize and understand. And when we inject that into the experience, now we can show you in the tool the very same way that you are talking about it amongst yourselves, and therefore it's a consistent language and vocabulary that helps you to arrive at conclusions more quickly. We're thrilled to announce at this conference APM 10.5. APM 10.5 brings an all-new homepage that you see here on the screen. This homepage gives you an all-new problem triage workflow process to help you find and identify the source of a problem in as little as 5 seconds. In order to do that, we pair the experience using your vocabulary to root causes using an analytics engine that we refer to as assisted triage. Assisted triage is an all-new patent-pending technology that ties together the experience that you had with the bits inside the data center or in the cloud that caused that experience to be poor. We'll tell you that it's the LDAP server, for example. Finally, experienced engineers need to provide linkage. This is something that we've not done a great job at in the past. Let's go back to the example with shopping. Suppose that my wife calls up because she's trying to buy some shoes and she can't get that done. What we really need to do is to link her experience directly to the database call or the storage problem, the network, whatever thing it is in each of your individual specialty domains that caused her particular experience to be poor. Now, as we look forward, we can get even better at this. As we get better, we ought to be able to find and identify that problem before she even has to call for help. And then, ultimately, when we get really good at this, we find and fix those problems before they actually occur, because we see the trends emerging before they affect anybody at all. Much like automakers show off their new ideas at an auto show with a concept car, we've put together something that we're really excited to show you. We put together our next generation demo of what we believe experience is going to look like in CA software. We've done this for a couple of reasons. We've done it to show you our ideas, but more importantly, we want to drive feedback. We want to hear from you. Yesterday, we went over this new concept car, as we call it, with our customer advisory board that includes some of you. We talked about it for an hour and a half. We talked about how it can fundamentally change the way that IT and business intersect with one another. It's an exciting thing to look at, and it's going to become real very soon. We're going to take the covers off this concept car for you right here on this stage at 12:45 today, a little bit later. We invite you to come back and learn more about it. Come on this journey with us and help us. We need your feedback. So as you can see, we've got some exciting things that we're working on right now around design and code and infrastructure. But don't take our word for it. There's a bunch of sessions. You've obviously got a schedule of your own, but we invite you to please take some time to spend with our experts who are out here on the show floor. These folks have prepared and they have wonderful demos. They can answer your deep technical questions. They can show you how to make this real in your particular organization. You've got to see it for yourself. So I've taken you through design and code. Now I'm going to invite my colleague Dan to come up and continue the conversation to talk about how code intersects with infrastructure to build operational intelligence. But before we do that, we'd like to show you how one of our partners, Telefonica, is making this vision real by using UIM for cloud.
The cloud is the destination we're heading in. It's the foundation of where our success is going to come from to really deploy our customers' services. What I mean by that is the digital services that we're going to be building and delivering to our customers allows us to really connect to our customers quicker. The UIM is helping us in many ways. And let me be clear, UIM is at the heart of our cloud strategy. We have embedded CA as part of our proposition. We want to give our customers the same benefits, and if not the same, even better benefits than they were getting before. We want our customers to take further advantage of the full stack of what UIM offers. We're on this journey on the basis of what our customers are telling us, and it's about giving them that single view. We feel UIM is the right choice for our customers, for our internal operations, and also to help us scale for future challenges.
That's great. You know, a great man early in my career taught me there really is nothing more important than your customers. And for me, CA World is really all about hearing stories from our customers, like that great story from Telefonica. So I liked Chris's intro, the spinny dial that reminds us that frustration that will set the brand for digital experience. And as I thought about it, I related it to the world I'm familiar with, and I think about 5 seconds. It takes about 5 seconds before everybody in the organization blames the infrastructure team for Chris's slow slides. In fact, early forms of predictive analytics would tell people where the problem was even before it happened. Right in the network. That's where I began my career and have enjoyed it ever since. So Chris introduced us to some great new capabilities, and he spoke about the intersection of design and code. Let me carry that story now to the infrastructure and how new visibility into hybrid cloud infrastructures, together with predictive and correlated analytics, is going to really help all of us achieve new heights of operational excellence. 2 words this morning that Mike Gregoire said that stuck with me. I love them. Advantage software. They really summarize, for many of our customers, your corporate strategy. And it is through that corporate strategy that agility is influencing the whole organization, all the way down now into the architectures of infrastructures. And so we have to understand what is influencing change to the infrastructure. And so we start with 3 things that we understand, which is your organization wants greater speed to market. Mike Gregoire talked about that. You know, innovation and applications are introducing new demands on infrastructures that new companies are inventing infrastructure to help drive those new app experiences. And the operational agility built for change. Those of us in operations, we absolutely want to be part of accelerating that change. We don't want to be part of Team Slow, holding back success. So these are the 3 elements motivating these new architectures within the infrastructure, and they introduce new challenges and they introduce new opportunities. So to begin with, the new infrastructures. These new infrastructures are no longer contained within the boundaries of our data centers. These new infrastructures are more dynamic than humans, frankly, can keep up with. And if these new infrastructures are architected to deliver new and exciting app experiences, the way we monitor the infrastructure needs to be done with an understanding of the app experiences that infrastructure is supporting. Success of the infrastructure is not the availability of the infrastructure. Success of the infrastructure is the outcome of a 5-star app experience. So as we think about these infrastructures, what do these infrastructures look like? Well, to begin with, this new chapter begins right where we left off. The infrastructures that we've architected and many of us are just finishing setting up. So we start with our corporate networks, our branch offices. We're seeing now these data centers being reinvented as software is changing through containers. We see hybrid cloud technologies beginning with the private data center, now extending into the public cloud. A public cloud strategy for organizations is who is the right provider for me, or what is the right combination of providers. And the branch offices are now being connected with intelligent networks, software-defined wide area networks designed around delivering the best application experience across an internet delivering software-defined network services. So last June, our goal has been to be one step ahead of you on your journey to the cloud. Last June, we were excited to introduce support for hybrid cloud technologies, allowing you to take the monitoring you have of today and extend that with you on your journey to the cloud. Introducing support for hyper-converged infrastructure systems and public cloud providers. And behind you today, our teams will introduce new support for even more of these infrastructures, like this dashboard you see for Azure, another public cloud provider. displayed to you in new HTML5 technology that is going to be very strategic as we take this technology through our portfolio, so you can further have opportunities to bring data together. And lastly, behind you today, you'll be able to see not only are we monitoring these infrastructures, providing insights into performance analytics, but we're also introducing exciting new log analytics as well. You don't have to leave your monitoring tool to have access to high-value log analytics from these infrastructures. Also behind you, we're introducing exciting new capabilities in the area of software-defined networks. These software-defined networks are really pushing the envelope of a dynamic infrastructure. In the data center, the software-defined data center, everything is virtualized. Compute is virtualized, storage is virtualized, and now we see the network. And these systems are configured with an understanding of app experience. And so we're excited to introduce new support through our performance and fault that will also be introducing support for log analytics as well, support for Cisco ACI, Nokia Nuage, and VMware. Combine that with our support for open source, OpenStack, and Open Daylight, and we'll even give you a sneak peek into the work we're doing as we partner with Viptela and Cisco on SD-WAN. The ability to monitor the entire infrastructure and our new software-defined networks, again, together with where you began. We all know technology is always added much faster than it's removed. And part of that agility is to not slow you down with having to redesign the entire infrastructure if you simply want to add capabilities to deliver those new digital experiences. So if we take this new insight for hybrid cloud, we combine this with opportunities for monitoring dynamic network infrastructures. Let's take it back to what Chris introduced us to, and Ali mentioned, a platform for you to own your new digital experiences. We are all digital experience engineers. And for the network and infrastructure teams, being able to connect our understanding of the infrastructure to the code, to the design, to the full app experience, we're able to leverage technology as you see here, take advantage of the machine learning with our assisted triage, take advantage of predictive analytics to be able to anticipate problems that are surfacing in the logs, that are surfacing in the performance data from our systems, and make that insight available to those responsible for customer experience, and to also have that available ourselves to understand how our infrastructure is supporting that 5-star app experience. So as I mentioned, customer stories really, for me, represent the greatest value of an event like CA World. So I invite you to see these great new products and capabilities that we're introducing, but more importantly, join us in hearing some awesome stories from our customers. With that, I'd now like to invite our General Manager, Ali Siddiqui, back up on stage. Whoop.
Thank you, Dan. Just imagine, rather than sifting through this volumes of data and complex application and infrastructure data, you could use machine learning and predictive analytics to gain critical visibility and insight. And imagine if we could abolish fire drills and avoid war room exercises and use machine learning to get to root cause very quickly. We at CA are allowing digital experienced engineers, all of us, to be able to do that through machine learning and business insights. As the general manager of Agile Ops business unit, I am committed to working with you, my customers, my partners, to deliver on this reality. Thank you.
Awesome job. Thank you. Ali's vision is spot on. If you think about it, never before, I think in history, has IT operations played such a pivotal role in customer experience and in business success. And it's true, we are all digital experience engineers, and it's with that notion in mind that we want to recognize 3 customers today that have been pioneers in their respective areas and digital experience engineers in terms of vision, impact, and progress that they've driven in their organization. So please join me in congratulating 3 companies that have really driven digital experience engineering. The first, ADP, Robert Knatzer and Niraj Amin.
Awesome working. Hey, Niraj. Hey, good to see you.
Our second award recipient, KPN Netherlands, Ruud Kitselaar. Congratulations. And our third recipient, Mr. Rene Lopez, Vice President of Platforms for Cognizant. Congratulations, Rene. Thank you guys very much. Thank you, Ali, for your presentation. As a reminder, you don't want to miss the next presentation from Amazon Web Services. Our own Aruna Ravichandran will be presenting on that. Thanks very much.